Atlantic salmon are revered and known as the king of fish. They can be found in most cool, clean rivers with access to the ocean and on both sides of the Atlantic. At one time, they occupied almost every river in Britain, but man's impact on their freshwater environment has meant that not all our rivers now contain salmon. Scottish rivers in particular are a European stronghold for the species. The rivers and the fish themselves are part of Scotland's living landscape and natural heritage. Despite their importance, Scotland's salmon stocks face many threats to their freshwater environment. This includes physical barriers to migration, exploitation from netting and angling, and physical degradation of spawning and nursery habitat. The Atlantic salmon is an anadromous fish, which means it spends part of its life in the sea and part in freshwater. Female salmon lay their eggs in a nest called a redd, dug in the gravel of clean, fast-flowing streams and rivers. The young salmon, once hatched, spread out and feed in the river for anything between 1 and 4 years before migrating to sea as smolts for the major feeding and growing part of their life. Eventually, after 1 to 3 years, their homing instinct draws them back to the river or stream of their birth, where they start the whole cycle again. Man's day-to-day activities have damaged the salmon's freshwater habitat and have put the salmon under threat in many instances. The Conservation of Atlantic Salmon in Scotland Life project, or CASS for short, has been the single most significant salmon conservation project ever undertaken in Scotland. The CASS Life project's overall objective has been to safeguard and maintain the abundance and diversity of Atlantic salmon in Scotland by improving freshwater habitats and salmon management regimes through joint working and partnership initiatives on 8 key Scottish salmon rivers. These rivers and their tributaries account for 38% of all freshwater salmon habitats in Scotland. CASS Life was co-funded by the EU under the Life Nature programme and includes partners from both the public and private sectors. A vital part of the CASS Life project's success has been joined-up thinking and the cooperation and contributions from many different groups. With so many parties having different impacts on the salmon and its environment at different times, this sort of collaboration is now seen as vital for the future management of salmon. The LIFE project has shown an holistic approach to freshwater salmon habitat management not previously seen on this scale in Scotland. In essence, its work assists the salmon from the estuary through to spawning and the habitat for the entire freshwater stage of its life cycle. For example, CASS Life has purchased netting rights to permanently halt the commercial salmon netting on 2 rivers, allowing more fish to reach suitable upstream habitat to spawn. It has overseen improvement and restored access to sections of river where man-made obstacles prevented full use of the available habitat. It's carried out habitat improvement work, both in-stream, to restore degraded spawning and juvenile habitat, and on the river banks. It has stabilised banks, protecting them from overgrazing, and improved the integrity of the ecosystem. Furthermore, by involving and educating as many people as possible about the project, salmon and their habitat, more stakeholders have been created who will help continue the good work carried out in getting this far. Steps have also been put in place to monitor the outcome of improvement work carried out, so that a lasting legacy of the project can be managed appropriately. Man-made and natural obstacles prevent the migration of both adult and juvenile salmon. The CASS Life project has brought about the removal or alleviation of dozens of such obstacles. In keeping with the holistic management methods, on the Spey, for example, to complement obstacle bypassing or removal, hatchery-reared fry and par from indigenous stock have been introduced. This helps kick-start the recovery of these newly opened up areas. It's also vital that when opening up these new areas for salmon and reintroducing juvenile fish, that they are good quality habitats for sustainable salmon stocks. This might include prevention of bankside erosion, which can cause silting of the gravel beds. This silting can suffocate future generations' eggs. Erosion is often caused by cattle, so the simple and most effective solution is to fence off the riverbank at vulnerable areas. This work on one of many Dee tributaries shows how this can improve matters. Loss of spawning and juvenile habitat is also caused by gravel extraction and dredging on some larger rivers, so guidance for gravel extraction has been produced. Forestry has caused problems with water quality where coniferous trees are planted right up to the water's edge. The shade cast by the trees inhibits life within the stream, so opening up areas like this has been an important part of habitat improvement carried out by the CASS Life project. Furthermore, coppicing or thinning trees near the riverbank is beneficial to the in-stream habitat, helping plants grow by letting in more sunlight. These plants provide food for aquatic insects, which are an essential part of the diet of young salmon. As with many ecosystems, diversity is the key. And by helping salmon, we're fortunately helping many other species that are part of the same ecosystem. For example, fish such as brown and sea trout, and birds like the dipper. While much of the freshwater environment is potentially within our control, many threats to salmon still remain, notably mortality at sea. Much work is required in this area, but what is clear is that we must continue to maximise the number of smolts leaving our rivers in order to maximise returning adults. The more people understand and the more people have a stake in the well-being of the salmon, the more chance it has of being afforded the respect it deserves and the help it needs to thrive once more in Scottish rivers.